All right, we are live.
Very nice.
Yeah, we're working on getting that intro very shortly for the live streams, because when people rewatch this, it's just a little silence, and that's awkward. But we're working on the intro. It's coming, everyone who rewatches this. Welcome, Mr. Windle. I have myself with me. We got Patty XRP, and we got the one and only Lars here.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah, straight off the farm, right, Lars?
That's right. Chicken day today. Making compost.
I know exactly. I got a theme song that worked perfect for you. I don't know if you ever heard the song Atlantic City by the band, but they sing about the chicken man in it. So it makes me think of you at this point.
To me.
Yeah, I'll send it. It's a good song. It's from like the 90s. I think it's some older one too. I can't remember the original singer, but it was somebody famous.
So welcome everyone. Welcome Walt Gardner. I love that name. That's a good avatar. Hey, Carl Eric B. Mills. Always a pleasure. Adam Cobb. All right, so I think we're going to get started. We got almost 60 people in here already.
Yeah.
So one thing we did want to cover, well, we'll kind of like wait a little till everyone flows in. But I guess we're going to do a little run through of yesterday's interview. Some of the comments in the bottom of the video were a little shocking regarding the application that is being built for us, basically, to utilize. That's basically a decentralized bank. Patty, I know you read through some of those. What were some of your thoughts on some of those comments?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of just more criticizing Matt for, his speaking style and everything like that. And, I just kind of sit there and I think, so do you want some smooth banker that's going to sit there and lie to you, or somebody that's willing to engage with the community that maybe hasn't had as much public speaking experience? And that's the first time I've ever seen him interviewed. It's not necessarily easy to go on and talk in front of a bunch of people, even if it's being played later. So I feel like people are just losing sight of what that whole interview is for. It's to give us an idea of what he is currently working on, which is not finalized in any way exactly all the mechanics of the network. Also, it's not going to launch till later this year. So after Flare Network and Flare Finance are live, more than likely. So we probably have till the fall. I mean, that gives him 4 or 5, 6 months to change things. And it doesn't make sense. I guess some people were upset that he was giving a lot of not absolute answers on how things are going to work. But I see that as a good thing. He's keeping his mind open, because a lot of things can develop in the time frame from now until he launches. And he needs the ability to pivot if he sees a better idea comes up. So, I mean, going and telling people this is exactly how it's going to work, 5 to 6 months before launch doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So I feel like people need to, take a step back. And these are all things that are still being developed, like the Flare network's being developed. And if we weren't out here talking about the possibilities, then, maybe a lot of people wouldn't even hear about it. So, I think we need to have patience with all this stuff and, allow people to do their work. I mean, I'll post it on Twitter after this, but I highly suggest you go into the Trustline Telegram. Matt is very good about answering questions and talking about where his mind's at with all this stuff, and you can actually get a feel for him instead of just taking your opinion from one interview he did just randomly one day. How about you go interact and see what he's all about. So, and also it's not like he doesn't have a pedigree. The guy was one of the the devs for Ripple that was connecting some of their highest banking clients to RippleNet. So it's not like he's just some bum off the street that's trying to make a blockchain network. He's worked for Ripple, a very high profile company, and he's had a lot of experience there. So I think we just need to have a little better perspective on it and realize that this thing's going to change as we go along. And that's the whole point of blockchain, is for them to be flexible. You're able to pivot to new ideas, composability, like you talk about all the time. You want to be able to change things as the tech improves, especially when it's going to keep changing.
Exactly. So. Well said. Yes,
Mickey and Patty. I was kind of wondering, what strikes me is he's working I don't know how many people he has working with him, but any of these projects that they're putting together, the complexity of what it takes to put this together, much less just to visualize it. And, do you have any insights in what it's like to be back there, like wiring all this stuff together? I know for me, it'd be 20 or 30 lifetimes to do something like this. And we're just talking a couple of months and they're going to have this incredible stuff being rolled out. Can you give us a little bit of sense of that? I think a lot of people have no clue. I don't.
Yeah, so like I have very little programming experience. I've learned a little bit of Python for work, and just that little bit is a lot to wrap your mind around. And like these people, they need to like, you know, people that are programming stuff, they have to take so many things into account, especially when it's dealing with our money on a blockchain. Like they need to know what are all the risks that can happen when they make certain decisions, you know, how flexible the network's going to be, how like resistant is it to attacks, the robustness, and then obviously all the knowledge that comes with coding, and then trying to do things in different ways that haven't been done before. So like it's a massive undertaking and you just can't lock yourself into one way. So yeah, that's kind of my experience. And you know, the people that can do that stuff, I have a lot of respect for them, and I think you just got to let them work and see what the finished product is. It's like it doesn't make sense to, you know, basically poo-poo something right off the bat because you didn't like one interview. But you know, like you need to have a little more open mind than that.
Well,
and it doesn't make sense not to like, you should be planning like this is something that you can use, and then if you don't want to use it for whatever reason, you don't like it, then you don't, you know, you're in the same place you would have been anyways if you didn't look into it at all. But at least if you're preparing and it's at a level that you would want, you have an idea of how to use it beforehand.
Exactly. And those people who make comments like that, I have a term for. It's called intellectual laziness.
Yeah.
So they see things only on the shallow surface. So, and building protocols like that, it doesn't take a team of 100 people to do that. You know, he's taking components of MakerDAO, components of Compound, components of Aave and Uniswap, and bringing them together. Even Flare Finance is a very small team. You don't need large teams to build some of these protocols at the base layer. It's the partners and then the surrounding users that and stakeholders that really then come into play once the protocols are there. You don't want a big team building the protocol. That's why Flare Finance is anonymous, because these are decentralized protocols. Like, I think the XRP community, sometimes we forget that, you know, with Ripple and everything, they're decentralized protocols. They're left then out into the wild, and then people build on top of them, and they use them. There's not just, you know, a 100-man dev team managing them like Ripple, because that's enterprise software. But I did want to answer just this question here from Mr. Windle, because I see this a lot. Is XRP the one or the distraction? In my opinion, neither. Because I think that whole concept of thinking like there's the one and then there's the distraction, in my opinion, it's yet to be determined. These networks are still being built, and the protocols that go with them are still coming together. And it's like Patty said, that composability of how the XRP ledger, not everything's going to run on the ledger, and the ledger can't do everything. It's meant for payments. Now, Flare is a complement to that because it could do the Ethereum smart contracts. So that complements the XRP ledger. And like Hooks gives the XRP ledger a little like light smart contracts, but there's no the one. XRP is just a token that's built on a protocol. So, I mean, I think we're far away from that idea of the one or the I just think we're years away from getting to that point. I think XRP will have many use cases. There's not just one use case. So I just wanted to answer that in my own term, because I see that. And I don't think we should lump them into distraction or the one. I think it's not clear yet.
Cool. And Mickey, I saw, so this is actually a really good question, and this guy's name kind of cracks me up, Organic FUD.
Yeah.
But he says, can someone tell me real world use cases or a reason for mass adoption of smart contract projects like Ethereum, Cardano, or Flare also? So, you know, since we've been talking about Trustline, let's start with a few things that they're trying to do there. So one is they're going to be running a P2P payments network, like basically for individuals to exchange money between each other on the blockchain. This is going to avoid any fees. So think like Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, things of that nature. You'll be able to do that through Trustline using a stablecoin that is backed by FXRP and is trustless, decentralized. Then from there, you're also going to be doing credit and lending with the RE stablecoin. And he also mentioned that merchants will be able to plug into the Trustline credit network and circumvent like credit card processing fees that come with like MasterCard and Visa. So these are a lot of things like, you know, maybe it's just like a 2% credit card processing fee, but when you add that up over many transactions, that could be the difference in a company, being profitable or not over time. So like just with Trustline, we see three things there that are very real world use case. And Matt kind of made a point of that in the interview, is that like, he doesn't want this just to be something people are, speculating on or anything like that. He wants people to actually use original Satoshi with like a P2P payments network. So that's just one thing. And then there's many, many more on top of that.
Yes, well said. And yes, so with the smart contracts on Ethereum, I mean, I think the use case on that side is that it allows you to lock up the collateral. And this is what allows Trustline to work. It's using both the, like Patty was saying, the XRP ledger and the Flare network. That's why I think it's really, something new. It hasn't been done before. And the community, when they don't understand something, they instantly go to, I'm skeptical of this. So I think we need to have more just an open mind. And that's important when everything's coming out. First when we heard of Flare, people were like, oh my God, they're going to steal our XRP from us. So, we just need to have an open mind. But here's a good question. So NB asks, if this market is speculative and a bubble, is it worth selling Spark on receipt and buying it back when the market corrects? What earns more, profit from selling high or interest from holding? So we could all throw our opinion on this one. I think that definitely holding, because the reason is the rewards that you're going to earn are going to be so massive in the beginning because others are going to sell for that profit, meaning that you'll earn more Spark. So you're able to accumulate all this Spark early. It's not about necessarily the profit in the beginning. It's about accumulating Spark so that then when the market goes back up, you have a ton of Spark. So instead of making your tiny little profit from selling, you'll have now a ton more Spark because you held. So I think that is relevant in that case. I don't know, Lars, was there anything you want to add to that? Or Patty?
Yeah, I think that's, as you have said many times, this is a change in the way we think about things, from speculation, buying as low as we can, selling as high as we can, this roller coaster curve that keeps going and going. And I know you're going to be talking about Trustline, and we've talked before about Flare Finance and the APY cloud and Flare network. And the image for me is just like we're on a rock, and more of this rock, this solid rock, is being exposed. Like the APY cloud is built with a 2-year, 3-year time frame to take care of these swings. And Trustline, this incredible stability that's coming with this Ore stablecoin, Flare network with its FTSO and being able to onboard assets. It's a big mindset change that's coming, and you're doing great work in helping us to prepare for it, because it's an enormous change from what we've experienced for all these years.
Yeah, and can I add to that this is like, whether you want to sell your Spark when you receive it, it's like very dependent on where you are financially. So, like if you need money, then, maybe you'd rather take that chance. Or, if you sit there and you sell out a Spark and then you wait a month and the price never dips like you think it's going to, then you just missed a month of earning, Spark via passive income and everything. And then on top of that, it may be at a higher price now, and you're basically priced out of the market from doing that. So, I mean, like, I'd say it's a risky play, but that's going to, come down to you. Like, what is your risk profile? Are you just looking to accumulate via buying, or are you going to look to accumulate from the actual protocol that's like created to deliver like this built-in yield, especially through the FTSO. So like you got to ask yourself a bunch of questions before you go into like, do I think this is going to dip and do I want to sell the Spark immediately? Well, I mean, you didn't really pay for the Spark other than all the XRP that you bought over the years. So to me, I don't know. It doesn't make as much sense to like where you would sell XRP at a peak and then try and buy in. It seems like at a lower price. It just seems like a totally different situation since it's being airdropped to you for free. Now, maybe that makes people, more willing to sell it at will, but we'll just have to see about that. Yeah.
So I want to take Adam Cobb's question here. It's a good one. If we mint FXRP, where and how do we receive yield in XRP in the Flare X exchange? ? So when you mint FXRP onto the Flare network, you pay a 5% fee initially to bring it over, and that will change with governance in the future, up or down. Now, you automatically receive daily Spark just for bringing that FXRP over there. You receive Spark in daily airdrop every day, Adam. So you take that Spark then, and that comes with a detachable FTSO vote, which you delegate to a signal provider, which then you earn more Spark for. Now, you could also stake that Spark simultaneously with an agent, and then that would allow you to earn the underlying assets for everyone else who mints F assets. So that's the way you could earn actual XRP too, simultaneously while you're earning Spark. But we don't know exactly the details of how the whole staking your Spark with an agent is going to work. But you'll earn daily Spark just for basically having FXRP on Flare. And any F asset, really. Well, as I call them, they're fresh assets, because that's what, it just sounds better than F asset. So I'm going to start calling it that in the future. And you're just getting Spark. So, and then you're able to take that Spark and earn more Spark. I mean, it's a system built for all of us who own XRP. It's like they're handing it on a silver platter. I just don't understand how people could complain about things like that. So it is kind of frustrating that the community is still struggling to see some of this. But with that said, there are many that I think do see it and really do understand what's coming. Like even Doge, Norseman, is going to get its utility. It's going to be on the same level playing field with XRP. And it's going to be hard for people to, accept. But it is coming, and it'll have the same superpowers. It'll have Ethereum smart contracts. It'll have yield that will come with it, which is like cash flow. So now by adding cash flow to these assets, it's really going to give, some of these fiat currencies a run for their money. And what Trustline is doing, is different than what Flare Finance is doing. It's at a different market. Patty, do you want to throw in there a little about what Trustline's doing? Since I did, multiple videos on it, I want to hear your opinion.
Okay, so on what specific point? Sorry, I got lost.
Yeah, pull up the diagram because I have that so everyone can see it. Right now.
I can see it. Yeah, I have the YouTube up. Yeah. So basically, we can just kind of, or can I touch on one other thing with Doge real quick before we get into this?
Good old Doge. We all love about Doge.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen so much hate about Dogecoin online since the price is going up. First of all, my first opinion is if you're complaining about Doge, you're probably salty about it. So come on, relax. If somebody else made money on it, kudos to them for that. Also, Doge has its own blockchain, which is extremely similar to Bitcoin. So if you say Doge is crap, then you're basically saying something similar about the number one cryptocurrency in the space. Maybe you think Bitcoin is crap, but people have different opinions on what is good and what isn't. And if the market's going to give it value, whether it pumps for a short period of time, then it's going to have value, and that value is now transferable onto the Flare network where it can be utilized more. So that's going to give that asset more staying power. But, we'll have to see how it plays out. People like Doge, it's a fun thing for society. And I think we saw the whole thing with GameStop. So obviously people don't always care about what is the best stock or the best blockchain network when they're putting their money into stuff. Also, Doge is bringing in a ton of new investors that can learn about blockchain and then kind of go into other areas. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But personally, I'm excited. I think it's an excellent showcase for the Flare network. to show its true power and what it can do for these native blockchains when they connect in and have smart contracts. I mean, it completely changes the game for all of them. So that's kind of my opinion on that. But back to the trust line. So our friend Cynthia made this lovely graphic based on the documentation that Matt Rosenden has released so far. It's not complete. We're going to get more as time goes on. But basically, there's four, or I guess I'd say three key parts. That's going to be the probity system that includes vaults, a treasury, and a teller. So the main thing to understand about the vaults is each individual is going to have their own vault, which is basically just a smart contract. So that's where you post your collateral, you lock it into there. You also manage it so you can withdraw collateral or put more in as the price of the underlying asset is changing. That's collateralizing the RE stablecoin. And right now we have Spark and FXRP is going to be integrated, but in the future, we'll see other F assets possibly depending on their volatility and maybe other ERC20 compliant tokens. And then the vault basically interacts with the treasury system. The treasury system holds all the RE reserves and mints them and also burns them if they're returned and no longer in circulation. So that's where all of that is kept track of. And then the teller basically keeps track of like interest payable, outstanding balances in the system, and then also will like create the loan between somebody that's trying to interact and take out a loan. So those are the three main components of Probity. They're all smart contracts with callable functions that anybody could plug into. Also, there's going to be a mobile app and web browser for you to interact with them without having to get into the code. And then the other two main pieces, so the RE stablecoin is what's being minted by either FXRP backing it or Spark backing it to start off. And that is going to allow RE to be minted and loaned out. It'll be able to use in trading for payments, many different things, a unit of account on the XRP ledger, which is made possible with trust lines and issued currencies, those functions built into the XRP ledger. So, and that's going to be a trustless stablecoin. I think that's probably the most important point about that, is that it's not like, how people are worried about Tether basically having a, not enough reserves for the amount that's printed, and people think it's kind of a scam. Well, this eliminates that problem because you can see all the reserves and all the collateral on the blockchain. Nothing's hidden. USDC is also centralized. So to me, this is a better option in the long term if we want transparency and visibility to basically new money being printed. And then the TCN governance token, so that's Trust Line Credit Network, you can receive interest in that token, and it gives you governance rights, voting rights in the system, so you can set parameters as that changes, help with approving updates and things of that nature. It's possible. It's basically going to be a stable coin that could trade above $1 if people want to, have, they put a premium on those voting rights. So we'll have to see how that evolves. And also it's possible, Matt said in the Telegram, that he may just make that like a free floating asset that's not necessarily a stable coin to differentiate it from RE. But we'll have to see how that goes. But that's basically a whole breakdown of how that whole thing works and connects. And then on top of that, you're going to have like the P2P payments part, and then where merchants can plug in to accept payments, circumventing credit card fees of that nature. So there's a lot going on here. But like RE's, the holy grail, right, Mickey?
Yes. Well, it's creating an asset that's, pegged to the US dollar, but it has all the characteristics and attributes of XRP. So the only thing it has is the unit of account. Everything else is XRP. FXRP's values back in it. Spark's values back in it. Two things we own. So it just has this unit of account that is USD. And things are not going to trade in XRP. That's just not going to happen anytime in the near future. So this has the potential to go really far in the future with a decentralized stablecoin like this. Like, for example, look at DAI, which has had tremendous success, but has been kind of like hindered by the Ethereum ecosystem. by what Compound did. It crushed its interest rate to where it hurt the protocol. See now, where Matt from Trustline said they could work with Flare Finance, like Aure is going to be able to be used in some of the Flare Finance protocols in the future. And that's the composability of these DeFi protocols. We've seen nothing yet. But what Probity Vault is really doing, it's built on Flare to support the Trustline network on the XRP ledger, like Patty was saying, but it also could be used for other things. Aure will have other use cases because a decentralized stablecoin is at the heart of basically a DeFi ecosystem. So that's why I like a decentralized stablecoin. It's something we could use as a dollar. It can't be censored by the government. It can't be taken away from you. It can't be controlled by in any way, the way like USDC can, the way Tether can. Aure is superior in many ways to that, as long as it can maintain its peg. And I think the design that Matt came up with is really good. But let me answer Crypto Whale's question here before he continues to spam the chat. So if we keep our Flare in the collateral system, will it be eligible for the DFlare snapshot? Yes. If you're talking about the F-Asset system. So if you had your Spark in the F-Asset system as collateral with an agent, yes, you'll still be able to receive. They'll take a snapshot of that. It will be attached to you, and you should be able to still receive your DFlare. Second question that he has is, which video is for the Litecoin pool? Well, I haven't done a dedicated one just for Litecoin pool, but I can give you, because we don't have full details on that, it's going to have 5 billion Spark in it. And this is because Litecoin was the second F asset, right? So that will be airdropped basically daily to all Litecoin owners who bring Litecoin over to Flare as fresh Litecoin. And then you'll have it on Flare and you'll receive these daily airdrops. But it will come from that 5 billion pool. We don't know what the percentage will be. If it's 0.1%, 0.2%, 0.02%, it might be different than the general rewards pool, but it's specifically just for Litecoin owners who bring over their Litecoin to Flare. There's not really much more to say on that. There's a blog that Flare did on it, but they've been kind of quiet. We don't know if there's going to be an amount that's going to need to be minted to trigger that. They said that's a possibility, but I don't know. That kind of doesn't make sense to me. We'll see. But things like Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Doge have they're over $1 trillion in value that can be unlocked on Flare. And that's what makes Flare different than a lot of these other protocols. So like OneChain is great with what they're doing, allowing XRP to come over there. But what Flare's doing is different kind of than OneChain, because it's allowing all these networks to bring their, it's like there's a rivers going to one ocean in the middle. And that's all these other networks flowing in, as Lars would say, right? The rivers, if you want to
rivers to the ocean.
Rivers to the ocean, as you say to me. And I think that's a great analogy. And all this value is going to be able to unlock in these smart contracts and other DeFi applications, but not just DeFi. I think we're going to see a lot more after DeFi, once we could bring on tokenization, NFTs, other types of NFTs too.
Yeah. And Mickey, so I see a question from Adam Cobb, which I think is good because I had this line of thought when we first started going into this, like back in November and December. So he asked, does the rewards pool ever run out? If so, what happens? So I'm going to keep this very Flare network, like layer 1 protocol specific. So the two rewards pools that are basically out there are the FLTC rewards pool and the general F asset rewards pool. So those they're coming with a set amount and there's nothing set up to replenish them automatically. But basically based on how much Spark is in those rewards pools currently, I'd say the run rate is at least a couple years on that. So I think that those rewards pools are more to bootstrap value and incentivize it to come on the network within the first couple of years. And it's not going to be needed in the long run when we see tons of different projects and products built on top of the Flare network. There'll be enough value there for you to want to go ahead and bring your F assets over. So it's like a short-term solution to drive people to the network early on. And it's a pretty massive incentive based on how much they'll be doling out from that on a daily basis. And then, so that's why I think like if it runs out, it's okay, because there's going to be a ton, a lot more platforms, just like Ethereum has hundreds of different projects on Ethereum for DeFi in a very short amount of time too. Flare Network could easily, have like, let's just say 20% of that. That would be like 20. So that would still be a lot of offerings to use. So there'll be enough, reason for people to bring their F asset value over in the longer term. And then also the other side of the coin is basically we have these FTSO rewards that come from inflating the supply of Spark. Now, those, I think it would be, they technically could go away if people voted for the inflation rate to be 0%. But I don't think anybody's ever going to want to do that, because they need to incentivize people to delegate their Spark detachable vote to the FTSO so that the Oracle remains decentralized. So I think we'll always have a little inflation. Now that could be brought down to like 1% yearly, especially if the Spark value is, let's say, $5 in the future. So you don't need to get as much individual Spark at that point. But hopefully that gives you a good idea, because I remember I was like, wait, Mickey, if all these rewards pools run out, wait, what are we going to do at that point? I'm like, what's the long-term plan? But the long-term plan is there's already a lot of projects building on top of Flare. There's some that haven't put out as much information, but we know from them being mentioned in the blogs that we're going to see tokenized stocks possibly in the future, tokenized real estate, like looking at maybe bringing a tokenized gold on, and many other things. So there's a lot of room for growth, and like it's not launched yet. So if the network's doing really well and people are drawn by the cheaper fees and faster transactions than other DeFi platforms, then maybe we'll see people migrate over a lot quicker, which will be really easy since it uses the Ethereum virtual machine for smart contracts. So they could, relatively more easily bring their, their code over onto Flare Network and have it used there. Obviously, it takes a little more back-end work than just that, but they don't have to learn some new language to write their product in. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so did you want to say something, Lars?
No, you just keep going with this. It's great.
So Norseman has a good question here that I think we could talk about. He goes, so what's the probability of Spark being successful? Is it based on numbers, marketing, or tech? And I think it's based on, not marketing, because don't expect Flare themselves to be marketing anything. I think it's based on the actual utilization of the network and the community's participation. So basically, the XRP community, we're the ones getting airdropped Spark. So now we have the opportunity as the founders of this network to participate, which means delegating your FTSO vote to the signal providers to earn more Spark. What that does is that adds robustness to the decentralized price feeds, which is at the heart of the Flare network. And also to bring over your XRP, your LTC, your BTC eventually, your XLM, your Doge, to unlock that value and use those on the Flare network. So the more that we see of that, it will be successful. It's Ethereum based. I mean, it's kind of hard to see it not being successful. It's at what level it's successful and how fast we get to that level, I think, is really what matters here. And I think it's going to be, well, if I hear my opinion on it, I think that in the beginning, there will be a group of people who will just not understand Spark, and they will probably just sell for profit because they just don't understand what's being built here. They're either just want the profits or they're intellectually lazy and they just sell. And then there'll be those who will scoop it all up. The rest of the community will see everyone else making profits from just no risk, from delegating their FTSO vote, bringing over their FXRP, earning Spark. And then the rest of the market will start seeing this. The LTC people, the XLM people, the Doge. I think Doge will be a big community who's going to have a ton of value now ready at their disposal to use it. So we as the XRP community better be prepared, because one of these other communities like Doge could just come in there and mint a ton of F Doge, and then all of a sudden they're earning the rewards and we're not, because it's going to go on the dollar value of the F assets that you have on Flare. So Doge is obviously worth less than XRP. It's not how many Doge versus how many XRP. It's the dollar value of that. And why that's, and Flare has the time series Oracle, it's able to calculate that exact dollar amount of your FXRP in real time to know how much to drop to you. So those rewards pool will never technically ever run out because they'll just, Patty already explained that. But Spark's value will go up. So even if the rewards pool is giving you less Spark per day for your FXRP, Spark might be valued higher. So we'll have to see where that goes. But I think it's going to be, the only risks here is I'll put risks out there now. Risks are the protocol, the security audits, and things like that. We haven't seen yet. We have yet to see the code. So those are the type of things that we need to see, and then we can pretty much go through how risky the smart contract codes are and the other protocols. But decentralization-wise, it's bootstrapping off these other networks out the gate. So it's going to be decentralized out the gate, and it's going to have its native token widely distributed out the gate. Those are two things many networks, or most networks, never could achieve out the gate. And this isn't a dApp token. This is a native blockchain token, Spark. So it's not comparable to like Uniswap or Chainlink. Those are dApp tokens. And that's what Flare Finance is, and that's what like Trustline is. But Spark itself is like XRP and Bitcoin. It's a native blockchain token, which will be decentralized, more decentralized probably than Bitcoin out the gate, and distributed far and wide to no whales. So we should limit that whole whale manipulation thing out the gate. And it also has a very well advanced governance structure called liquid democracy. So that allows for every holder in the network to have a say in the governance, not just the proof of stake validators, not just the miners. So that's one thing that's also different. And everyone's able to earn rewards, not just the proof of stake validators for block rewards and not just the miners. This is where Flare has these key advantages. So it's hard to see it not being successful unless something detrimental happens with the code or the security side on that.
Cool. So Mickey, I saw a great question here from JQ. Mm-hmm. And he asks, if Flare Finance is paying 5 to 35%, why would I move to using the Probity Vault? Can you give an example for use case? So let me do my best to give you an example here. This documentation is still really new, and we don't know what it's going to look in finality. But basically, I would equate to what you're doing with the Probity Vault and minting RE. If you over collateralize by a good amount, it's going to be pretty low risk. And then also the yield's going to be more like, probably somewhere in the range of 2 to 10%. And this interest rate is adjustable. So it's based on a formula. We have the formula on our website, the DeFiStandard.com, on the Trustline page. So you can go check that out there. It's a pretty easy one if you know any basic math to understand. So like, why would you do this? So like, you're referring to the governance staking with that minimum and maximum APY. So basically, like at the beginning, like let's say XRP value is only at 150, to me, it's not maybe not as enticing for me to go and use Trustline at that point. But if let's say you have like $10 million worth of FXRP in the future, and you just want to live off interest. So you're kind of done trying to play the APY game and trying to maximize yield and things that have a little more risk to them. So you could go and use it in that type of way. That's kind of where I'm thinking is it's more like a long-term solution for me to maybe earn passive income to supplement my job or to live off it, depending on where my like current like XRP value is at in the future. So hopefully that helps with you there. Matt did say that it could be a way for institutions to plug in and do like, some credit and lending type stuff on the network as well. So maybe we don't see people like us necessarily providing a ton of the collateral to mint RE. So I would keep that in mind as well. There's also this part where if you take both sides of the coin here and you basically earn interest by providing collateral to mint RE, but you also become a borrower, you could, in a sense, net out the interest that you're paying as a borrower with the interest you're earning as the supplier in this instance, and use that loan to maybe go earn yield somewhere else. It'd basically be like kind of a free loan at that point. You'd still have to pay back the notional value that you took out, but if you earned interest on that for a year, then that's another way to use it. But I'd say it's definitely more something where you have like higher value in assets. Like if you have $10,000 and you're trying to grow your assets by a lot, like $10,000 worth of XRP, to me, it's not as enticing for you. But also you could be a borrower in that situation. Like, let's say you see the interest rates at 2% and you're like, oh, I can take this and go earn 5% in the governance staking pool with Flare Finance. Then your spread is that 3% difference between the 5% that you're earning and then the 2% you have to pay in interest. So there's a lot of different things you can do here. So I think it just kind of opens up the possibilities for strategy going forward. So hopefully that gives you a good idea, JQ. But yeah, we'll be looking into it more as we see what this is going to look like in the end. But yeah, it opens a lot of possibilities. So.
Yes, it definitely does. And I think other things are going to be built around the Trustline Credit Network. There's going to be a mobile app, which is going to be more regulatory compliant. The vision is for the fiat on-ramp, off-ramp in the future. And, just to speculate here a little, what that's opening up is really a tremendous amount of possibilities with web monetization, with what RippleX is building. RippleX has a huge dev team, hundreds of $millions. That once this case is over and we get regulatory clarity, I expect to see a massive marketing push like we've never seen before. Not in the gimmicky way like Bitcoin is with like, oh, it's a store of value to replace gold. I could see Ripple pushing use cases and their partners pushing other use cases, because instead of it just being the one, we want to see XRP has many use cases as possible. Like even in John Deaton's, filing to the to the judge and the Southern District of New York, showed how many use cases there are already. But that's nothing. I think in the future, the potential is really endless. Once we have things like hooks onto the ledger and Flare next to it, the use cases are going to be beyond what we can imagine in a couple of years from now. It's just setting that foundation. And one thing that was missing from the XRP ledger was smart contracts and a decentralized Oracle system. Now Flare brings that. So we could see like an exchange sitting right in between them, acting as an agent and a gateway that's Trustline kind of as an on-off ramp to the fiat world, but also between Flare and the XRP ledger. So that's what's great, is you put your FXRP, you mint RA, and it ends up in your XRP wallet. And now use it on the XRP ledger. So into applications that are built there. So we're really connecting these two networks together, kind of like, attached at the hip. And you don't really see this with other networks. So you get the best of both worlds. You have the full Turing complete Ethereum virtual machine thing, and then you have, the XRP ledger. Walled Gardner asks, can you set your airdropped Spark to automatically delegate your FTSO vote, or do you have to manually claim and delegate? To be honest with you, we're not sure yet. When it comes to delegating, hopefully there's a test net for Flare, and we'll see how we could do all that stuff with the signal providers. But one thing that is clear here, wherever you set your Spark to be airdropped to, that's where it's going for the next 2 to 3 years. So technically, I know this question's going around. I'm not going to talk about taxes here in this conversation, but I do want to make this clear here that you're technically receiving, if you're in a self-custody wallet, all your Spark at once into a smart contract, and then it's being released to that one address every month. So technically, you're receiving it all at zero, and then it's just being released to that address. You can't move the address. You can't do anything to put it somewhere else. Now, regarding exchanges, the exchange is receiving it and giving it to you. You don't have a wallet. Your wallet is the exchange's wallet. they then distribute it to you. But if you're in a self-custodied wallet, it's technically all coming to one smart contract and always being released to that. So, I know DAI asked that question today. I'm not going into the tax thing, but on the back end to help people understand, it's not Flare Limited who's distributing it to you every month. It's a smart contract that you already received all of it at once. It's just being released from your smart contract to you at that percentage every month until you get 100%. And you get 15% on day one. So maybe that helps clarify some people on how when they talk to their tax attorney, how that works. It would be nice to get clarification a little more from the team at Flare, but maybe we'll get that when the code is released. So I just wanted to touch on that. Patty, do you want to take Ali G's question there?
Is it the Spark going into custody wallet? Which one is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Ali G asks, how is Spark going to show in custody wallet? Is it going to show as any other token on the ETH address we linked up to? So you're going to have a Spark specific address in your wallet. So like, let's say if you have a Ledger, it'll be just as you would have like an XRP address on there, Ethereum address, things like that. So it's going to be pretty similar to what you see already with these other tokens. Basically what was going on is when you had to like do the claim for the Ledger or some other self-custody wallet, was since Flare uses the EVM for smart contracts, the Ethereum address was a pointer for the network to basically look at what your XRP address's balance was on the snapshot date. So that's why you use those two. So hopefully that clears that up for you. And then, yeah, I mean, that's about it. Yeah, Kathy. So also I'll add, Kathy asks, can you recommend a self-custody wallet? There are a bunch out there that people use. If you're in a hurry to get one, I mean, I know people are using like the Tangem card now. Ledger Nano is pretty common. Decent, those are a few. But personally, because I'm looking at maybe getting a new one as well, I'm gonna wait and see what some of these wallet provider come out with in regards to like Flare functionality. So if you're not in a hurry to get it, I would just wait and see what they come out with personally, and then you can make the best choice, like what kind of functionality they're giving you and all that stuff. But
yeah, I think we're going to see something coming from Interledger regarding the wallet soon, because if you watched the interview with Tony from Thinking Crypto and Stefan Thomas, he got really excited, and they're looking to put the whole Interledger suite into a lot of these wallet providers. Now, when you think of Ledger, LEPAL, and Trezor veterans asking, they're just going to hold your private keys. And maybe one day we could get rid of the private keys if PolySign does some of the things they say they're going to do. And what we have now might not be in the future. So, we just have to keep an eye. Flare hasn't talked anything about the wallet. So we don't know any real details except that it's going to be an ETH-based address type. All right? That's all we really know. Into that. So I don't really want to go into the wallets, but I would say look to Interledger and open payments with what they're doing there, and Paystring, because I think that's coming and it's going to have an impact. Because remember, when you sent that message key to the Flare address, it's linked to your XRP address. So they're going to be linked together. Just remember that. So we're going to see something there with that whole setup. And when the Flare network goes live, they're going to see exactly every address, exactly how much it has. So that adds to the whole machine learning aspect, and AI, and other type of capabilities. The Flare network is set up kind of to be attached to the XRP ledger. So there was another good question here I wanted to get to. Where is it?
Hey, Mickey, while you're looking for that question there, go ahead and look. I had an experience this week, so I'm shifting up. You can get back to this in a minute.
Go ahead.
But I came to appreciate this channel and this work more. Just came to a situation where it was like somebody wasn't really able to talk freely about Flare because they had something else going on that was a conflict and stuff like that. And well, to be honest, it pissed me off. And the reason it pissed me off is because this is a life-changing moment if you're in this and you understand it and it works as it's conceived. And if people are like in it for, making money off it for personal gain or something like that, and not sharing the best possible information, that's actually going to have a huge impact in terms of things not being as positive as they possibly could be. And so that hit me this week, and I wanted to really thank Mickey, but also to put you on the spot to stay the way you are, because it matters to people. And like you see the people in here who are the moderators for this group, if you join Mickey B's, his Patreon group, a discussion like this with moderators like this is always happening. And people are pushing back on Mickey if they see something that, oh, I have questions about that. So there's a conversation that's going on to the best ability that we're able to make it happen. That Telegram is full of brand new people asking first-timer questions and people who know respectfully answering them. There's regular Zoom calls, and I'm not saying this to get a bunch of people to sign up. I'm saying because if you really want to promote your own capacity to be skillful in this area, I am super, super pleased to be a part of this. So that's over at Mickey's Patreon group. You can find it, and I guess that's what I have to say. So thank you, Mickey. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you,
Lars.
Go ahead,
can I piggyback off that? Yeah. So Lars is talking about this opportunity, and the way that I look at this. So I've done enough research to where I've determined that, kind of like how similar I feel about XRP, this is a blockchain that has staying power for a long time. And so what we have here is an opportunity if you believe in it. And, this is obviously going to be up to each individual. But, if you believe in the long-term viability of the Flare network, you now have an opportunity to actually get in on something early. It's like, oh, I wish I knew about XRP when it was 0.6 of a cent. Or I wish I knew about Bitcoin when it was $8, or Ethereum when it was a couple dollars. Like you have the opportunity, and we still have a few months to learn as much as you can to get, the most out of this. And let's say the Flare network doesn't work that well, in the long run, and it doesn't gain like a ton of value compared to Ethereum or anything. I'm not saying that it's not worth anything, but like you took a chance here, and you learned, and you believed in something. So like, that's what it's to me, is like, I've done enough research on my own to feel like I'm willing to take a chance on a new network here. I feel safe enough to put my money on it. And, we're going to have more security audits, so you'll be able to look into that stuff. But it's like, I'm being able to get on the ground floor of something, and I'm going to be able to be like a decision maker in the entire network, which is super powerful. Like, I was born into the United States. I didn't sit here and get to like guide the US economy from the ground up. So to me, this is like, we're living in a crazy time where we're going through this massive financial shift right now. And just being able to be a part of something from the beginning is just a really unique opportunity to me. And, I want to do the most to maximize that. So, yeah.
Well said. Well said. And hey, we all trust the XRP ledger, and we put our faith in the XRP ledger. We hold it there. We hold our assets. We put our faith in holding it on Coinbase, or holding on Bitstamp, or holding on, Exodus Wallet or Ledger. Look, and things happen. Look at Ledger got hacked with the data. Protocols are protocols, but we do need to see the open source code, Patty. I think that's one thing that will give us, and the more research we could do, and the more intellectual knowledge we have of these protocols to understand how they work, we can make better decisions on how we want to utilize our assets on Flare. Like, there's some very safe ways to do things, very risk-free, if not low risk. It's just bring over your FXRP, sit there and collect your Spark. Take your Spark, delegate the FTSO vote, and just collect it. That's the lowest risk, minimal risk. But for those who want to take more of a risk and earn higher yield, there's an abundant amount of opportunities. So there's something for everybody. All right, so I want to answer Logan 711's question here. Are the F assets limited to 40% of the Flare market? And does this put upwards pressure on the price of Spark? So, 40%. Was that in the white paper, Patty? I don't believe so.
No, so he's asking about how many F assets you can mint, right? Is that the question?
It says, are the F assets limited to 40% of the Spark market cap? Well, it depends on, see, agents need to put up the collateral, which is 2.5 times the F assets. So yes, it's going to put upwards pressure on the price of Flare because it's going to pull the Spark off of the exchanges and into the F asset system to get locked up as collateral, which will drive the price up. We lower the supply, increase the demand, economics, value goes up. So this is a much better model than, say, ETH 2.0, where it's just, hey, you create this like monopoly of oligopoly, really, of all these big miners who turn into proof of stake validators, and they collect everyone's Ethereum, and then they just validate transactions. This model, and they're also head of the governance then too. With Flare, you're able to still have your governance vote and delegate and use that Spark as collateral, have your governance vote, and earn rewards from the Flare time series Oracle. So you get 3 use cases basically out of this one token. And I think that's monumental, revolutionary technology. And I think that's going to make a difference why Flare is very successful in the future. And understanding how that works and why that's different than something like just Ethereum regular with proof of work or Ethereum 2.0 is why I'm so bullish on Flare Network, because we understand this. And the rest of the DeFi Standard team too, we see this, and we see that that's going to be a big change from everything else that's out there. Plus, it's Ethereum based. Was there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, could I touch on one other thing with that?
Yes.
So, and you guys can go on the Flare website. I believe it's flare.xyz. They have their white papers listed there. And in the first, just basically the Flare Network white paper overview, they have a formula called the issuance cap. And this is what determines how much F asset value can be minted onto the system at a given point in time. So the things that go into that formula are the collateral ratio, the Spark price, and the Spark supply available to be used as collateral. And then that's all in regards to how much F asset value needs to be minted. So in a scenario, let's say where there's a ton of demand to mint F assets. So like the upper bound of this issuance capacity is being tested. Well, in that scenario, what I imagine is going to happen is the agents are going to see, look, there's tons of more people that want to bring this on. We're going to earn this 5% creation fee right off the bat. We still have access to the Spark price going up in value. So if they're buying Spark off the open market to facilitate the minting of more F assets and then locking it up, that's further going to drive the price up. And then also they can do the FTSO vote and earn yield. So I imagine anybody that's running an agent and managing this collateral, when they see the demands like through the roof, they're going to go and source more Spark off the open market, which is going to drive the Spark price up until it hits an equilibrium with how much F assets are trying to be minted on. So there's definitely a few things that go into it, but I don't really see a situation personally, just with like how, market mechanics work and like the forces of a free market here, that we're going to be like, oh, you can't mint F assets for a week or something at a time. Like, it's not going to be like that. If there's people that want to mint, the value is there to provide the collateral. So it's going to get sourced off the open market, and it's going to decrease the supply on the open market, which will drive the price up. So that's kind of getting into like, what are the tokenomics of Spark? But, the more value that's brought on, the higher the price is going to go, because it's a collateral asset. And when you have an asset that's main use case is to be locked up, this is kind of similar to like Ethereum. Like Ethereum's price is, or I guess I wouldn't say Ethereum, but like a proof of stake network. When you have to lock up the native asset, it drives the price up. But the problem with those is that, it can't scale because the value that's, staked is tied to the security of the network. Here, the Spark token does not work like that. So, I just kind of want to go through those drivers and the issuance cap so people know.
All
Hey,
right.
Mickey, we're
Okay.
getting close to an hour, but we
Yeah.
can't go without this being a John Deaton Appreciation Day from all of us.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll give
Thank
a
you,
little
Mr.
clap.
Deaton.
Yes, Deaton is a beast. I mean, he just brought the fight right to the SEC. I mean, that judge, she's gonna read that and just, I mean, she might just go summary judgment just from reading that and just laugh at the SEC. I mean, I feel bad for that prosecutor on the SEC. He's gonna feel like a real clown. I mean, he just blatantly lied. They went behind the back of the courts. I mean, they're just digging their hole deeper, and now they got Deaton coming in like he said he would. He goes, we're coming in from the flank, and he came in, with a haymaker from the flank, basically. And that judge, it's gonna have an impact. Just even like he said, even if he doesn't get a hearing, she's just gonna read that and see all the use cases. Basically, he was able to argue everything Ripple is going to argue when they actually get a chance to litigate after discovery. He got all that in there beforehand. So I think that's great. I did want to answer Giselle's question just quick. So Flare is not based on the Ethereum mainnet at all. It just uses the Ethereum smart contracts and standards. It's a completely separate network, has nothing to do with Ethereum failing, doing whatever. It just uses the smart contracts and the standards. That's all. So, but yes. Good job, Lars, on bringing that up. I almost forgot about John Deaton.
Yeah.
Because he is a hero for the community. I really think that, one day there'll be a movie made on this, because this is going to be monumental. It's going to go down as the pivoting moment for like crypto and the financial system, because Ripple is loaded with funds. So when they get out of this, they're going to gain even more partners and more partners and more partners after this. And their partners are going to come out of the woodwork, and they'll be like, okay, now we could be free. And, who knows? BAC could be a secret partner. I always thought that one. I know that's speculation, but SBI, Bank of America, Santander. Once there's clarity, we could be the first with clarity before Bitcoin and Ethereum, truly. And John Deaton's goal is to get it either summary judgment in law that XRP is not a security, or that the SEC has to actually admit, not Clayton saying it on stage, William Hinman saying it, or Hester Pierce, that SEC actually admits in court XRP is not a security and it can be listed on exchanges. Boom. Then we have full clarity right there, and no other asset will have that. So that's why David Schwartz even said that. So I see this gap until the Congress gets their act together. There might be a period where XRP is the only crypto asset with true regulatory clarity, that it's absolutely not a security by law in the U.S.
I love that line there. It says, I feel like we are horses waiting for the gates to open to begin the race.
Oh, yeah, those horses are bucking. They're kicking. They're ready to run out of the gates right now. Ripple went on a hiring spree. I mean, they were hiring 70 people. I mean,
they're putting a lot out there right now.
Yeah, they're ready to go.
They're ramping up the marketing. Yeah, It's exciting.
So it sounds like we'll have enough content perhaps for another live stream someday, huh?
Yeah.
And ironically, then Ripple's going to IPO probably then not long after. In a year from now, we're going to see the Ripple IPO. So that's going to be interesting. Let's see how Gensler handles this. We still have to see how he's going to deal with this. I mean, as the SEC embarrasses themselves more and more, literally the investors are blaming the SEC, who they're supposedly protecting. And the SEC scoffed at us, basically. Deaton put that all out there. I mean, he did a phenomenal job. I mean, I encourage everyone to read. I posted the links in the video below, and there's like a 36-page one that's readable. The 188-page one, he literally answered every single line of the amended complaint from the SEC. I mean, the guy, I gotta give credit. He's a hero for all of us in the community, because it's gonna make a difference, in my opinion. So,
and let's not forget, with this, we're seeing the mainstream media drumbeat start to happen. We have Forbes, Bloomberg, and Wall Street Journal all criticizing the SEC heavily So public opinion swaying against the SEC really fast. And obviously, this is a new administration, and this action was taken during an older administration. So I don't know. We'll see if this becomes, like a political stance for them to be like, oh, look, we're going to take this back, basically. But, the media is not on the side of the regulatory agencies here. So just a lot of things are slowly moving in the right direction.
Yes.
So we'll see.
So KSpec 1515, before we go, rumor has it that Gary is seeking guidance from U.S. Treasury on crypto regs. Thoughts? Well, the SEC doesn't have any ability to, change the laws. Only Congress has the ability. They could give guidance, the SEC, on certain things, but to actually put out real regulatory framework, even the Treasury doesn't, I don't think, have that ability to truly put out a new framework. That's Congress. FSOC and the Treasury could give guidance. And remember, FinCEN's part of the Treasury. See, the SEC and the CFTC are not part of the Treasury. They're overseen by committees in the Senate. So, like, for example, the CFTC is the one who's going to regulate crypto. Like, we just got to understand that. Like, they do commodities. These are not securities, so why would the SEC have anything to do with it? Just like John Deaton said. And we have the best person ever going into the CFTC in Chris Brummer. So I'm excited, and that's Ripple's kind of in with the capital markets, because that's who's coming next, is the capital markets. The CFTC is well aware of DeFi. They're looking to put a safe harbor for DeFi. They're so far ahead of the SEC. It's almost like when Heath Tarber made that joke about, like, we'll see what happens. It's almost like, all right, SEC, go embarrass yourself, So it's going to be interesting with Gensler, too, because he came from the CFTC, and now he's with the SEC. But he is known to have a heavy hand. And we'll see. Chris Brummer, that was the guy that, Tokyo Sander asked, Chris who for the CFTC? Chris Brummer. He was at Swell. He's from Georgetown, professor. Yeah.
And can I, before we wrap this up,
yes.
I just want to say thanks to Johnny O for the super chat. I've seen you in the chat a lot, so we appreciate it, man.
Yes. Thank you, Johnny. I got him before in the chat, but
cool.
Thank you, John. Much appreciated. And thank you, Don, and thank you everyone else with the super chats. And Michael L., very much appreciated. If XRP is a currency, shouldn't the OCC regulate it? I don't know. We'll find out. OCC regulates banks.
I don't think that's...
No. OCC regulates banks. I know it says Office Comptroller of the Currency, but that's of the U.S. currency.
Yeah, it's the U.S. dollar.
I don't know if anything's going to be deemed a currency as in legal tender currency. It's a virtual currency. But we really need it's a new asset class, so it needs its own classifications. It's not a security, it's not a commodity, it's not currency. It's its own asset class. So we need a new regulatory framework for a new asset class. It's neither. It's all the above and more. It's programmable money, as Chris Brummer says.
Yeah, I think all this is going to get addressed here in a big way with mainstream media and also Congress and the current administration. You're just kind of starting to see little flashes out there that are kind of indicating this. And obviously, as the market continues on this rally, I think it's going to come to the forefront. They're just not going to be able to ignore it anymore. Yeah.
Oh, look at this, Patty. Big article in New York Times business section on crypto and the lobby and coming regulation war, laid out in detail some key players getting mainstream more.
Yeah.
All right. So on that note, thank you, John Deaton. You're the man. And thank you, everyone in the XRP community who supported and participated in the class action and who provided information to John Deaton. So everyone in the Mickey B. Fresh Patreon who provided information that I sent to him, technical details on the XRP Ledger's DEX, he used a lot of that information in his filings and hearings that I shared with him. So thank you everyone in the Mickey B. Fresh Patreon and DeFi Standard team and all the XRP community. Thank you. I think we're on our way to victory. So, on that note,
sounds good. Good night, all.
On that note, I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
Patty XRP.
And we are out.
Peace. Happy Doge Day.